Hello and welcome to the studio Demands It, an exercise in creative thinking where we will conceptualize, pitch, and craft a film or series based on the demands or stipulations from one of you listeners acting as a hypothetical Hollywood overlord. As professional screenwriters ourselves and massive cinephiles, we talk movies all the time. And we'd like to believe...
This one overlaps.
It
doesn't echo, it overlaps.
It overlaps, I like that. But we'd like to believe that we could meet any demand thrown at us. Welcome to the penultimate episode of Season 5, which saw some pretty fantastic demands from our listeners literally all over the world. And you, listening right now, you may very well have given us the demand that will be greenlit by our fans for the finale. Thanks to everyone for an incredible season. Thank you, Jim, as well.
Thank you, TC.
We will be your screenwriters.
Thank you, listeners,
for this episode as we go through the 6 films and tallies for the finale. I am TC DeWitt, and joining me, as always, is Jim, the deeper meaning, Brzelik. Hello, Jim.
I think that might be one of my favorite middle names.
The deeper meaning,
Yeah.
Yes. You always seek the deeper meaning in film. And before we get into the numbers here and talk about what our finale is going to be here, there's a couple things I want to discuss with you. But one is the deeper meaning, because we were having a conversation about messaging in film and the importance of escapism and the importance of allegory, especially in our fiction, specifically our fiction, the fiction that we write and consume. And I want to talk about that. And I also want to talk about some potential fun ideas for not just the finale, but for season 6, and just looking ahead as we wrap up this season and we move towards our feature-length finale. So thank you, everyone who sent in the votes. We will get to that momentarily. But Jim, the deeper meaning, Brzelik, the messaging of film. How do you have? I planted this seed, and you really wanted to talk about it. I was like, no.
Sort of. It like immediately started sprouting. I was like, oh, I mean, yeah, but then there's this and that. Basically, you had brought up specifically. Several thoughts all at once. So I mean, yes, you sit next to me during movies. And then the movie finishes, and I'm like, oh, and that had this meaning here, and then like, oh, and this totally alludes to this.
Yeah, we put our English degrees to work.
Yeah, I really do.
Literary analysis, and I have so much fun. Literary analysis is so much fun when it's not taken ultimately like super seriously. But like I love picking apart the layers of scripts and film and choices made by the actors versus the directors and so yeah, the messaging we sometimes dissect from films can make a movie that was good better, or make a movie that was bad good. Yeah.
Or like you can sometimes it's mixed. Like it doesn't do a good job of messaging, because it sends mixed messages, and that's a sign of bad storytelling. But then you had also brought up that notion of escapism, and I too do like to escape. But I remember, I don't know if I liked stories like this previous to learning this, or if this is what made me like them that way, or if I always would have. But I learned this fact that I only remember bits of. There was a filmmaker, I'm pretty sure a French filmmaker, and I think it was during the war, even the not the Great War, the World War II, the sequel.
Oh, the sequel, bigger and badder.
Yeah, I think it was then. I think the notion was he wanted to make a film that sent a message that actually like energized audiences, made them want to get up and go and do stuff, change the world, and not sit down and maybe it wasn't during the war, because the Nazis, once they occupied France, were quite strict about things that could be seen and filmed. So maybe it wasn't that. Maybe it was after. I'm not sure. But he wanted to message to the audiences and energize them in a way that made them leave the movie and want to change the world, change things, change even the things the movie was about, right? But what they noticed is, like I guess in talking to people after and stuff, the movie ended happily. And so audiences didn't leave with the notion of this needs to change. They left with the notion of, oh, everything was set right, even though in the real world it wasn't. The escapism of, oh, in the fiction everything was set right, so that actually curbed any desire to go out and change things.
I see. Okay, well, Francois Truffaut said...
Was it Truffaut?
Well, Truffaut said... Truffaut said there's no such thing as an anti-war film. Like, he believed that film expresses joy in making cinema or agony of making cinema, and that's it. Which isn't what your point is, but so I'm trying to think which French filmmakers of the time. Jean-Luc Godard would definitely have been someone who had very clear messaging in his film.
I very well could also be misremembering a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, but the notion of a film being so satisfying that you don't leave the theater wanting to enact change on your own life was the fallacy that he created.
Sort of,
I see.
I mean, that makes it sound way bigger than it was. It would be like, right? What's happening? Prices are going up. Everything's going up, and it's terrible. So in the movie, prices are going up, and the characters are trying to solve why it's happening, and they find out, oh, it was the governor doing it, just the governor, and they take the governor down, and the prices fall, and the movie ends happy, and everyone leaves the movie theater happy, and no one goes to try to change prices.
Got it. Yeah.
Right. That kind of thing. Rather than everyone gets riled up by this movie and leaves the theater and is like, we got to do something about this. They instead, because it was a happy ending there, they moved forward like, oh, it's fine. It's happy. And interestingly, now that I think about that, that kind of correlates to other things, the way the human mind works in concentration camps. It wasn't a study. There was a group, I forget which camp it was, but there was a group that would sit down together and they would talk to each other. They would describe meals and they would imagine eating those meals, and they remained healthier than the other people in the camps. So it's sort of a mind over matter kind of thing. And I'm making a correlation between that and stories. So when your story has a happy ending, you go into life, even if it's miserable, feeling good, feeling better. And that is good and important. But when it undermines motivating, changing your world for the better, I think that might be a problem. That might be a little too extreme to say it is a problem. What that relates to, because you had talked about escapism and how I do things a bit different, and I don't think it's necessarily all that different. But thinking about the episodes we've done, some of our episodes, I very much often like happy endings as well. I do like the good guys to win, but there are certain genres and certain movies where it shouldn't go that way. The first one that comes to mind is our Blade Runner episode, which wasn't even this season. That was the season previous. It
doesn't have a great ending.
I very much wanted a very dismal ending.
Yes. Which is, in hindsight, the correct way to go. I think I fought against it because I wanted the...
Right, and I get that. It's like, no, why do you want to kill all those people? Because that's the tragedy, that's the terribleness of a situation like that. It is a dystopia. Dystopias don't get to end happy.
Right. And there goes to messaging in my favorite genre for presenting a message that should leave the audience thoughtful is science fiction. We've talked about this many times. My favorite science fiction holds up a mirror, and whether you know it or not, it's reflecting back the current times. And just by chance, all 6 of our movies are sci-fi this season, of our 6 options. Just by chance, we have chosen 6 movies that are science fiction. One of our listeners drew a point to that pretty much all 6 of these movies have the possibility to have deep social commentary to our current world.
Sure.
And that it didn't dawn on me, but once that was suggested by the listener, I was like, "Holy shit, you're right." There's that, and then there goes into our deliberate nature and messaging, the deeper meaning of things. I, in my writing, allow my subconscious to come out often, very often. Sometimes I do go out of my way to go, this is going to be about depression, this is going to be about grief.
Sure.
But oftentimes that stuff just comes out anyway. I'm using my art and my writing and my storytelling as a form of therapy, as a way of coping with the things that I'm dealing or not dealing with. And I had suggested that I use my escapism and messaging different than you do, but that's not fair to you because you do. I'm certainly, as a writer, as an artist, you can't help, and someone who's so intelligent, you can't help but put messaging into your story.
Keep flattering me.
You're one of the smartest guys I know, Jim. You have the best vocabulary of any person I associate with on a regular basis.
I like it so much.
But I wonder sometimes if those deeper meanings should be. This kind of goes to your liminal core thesis you've been developing over this entire season.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think messaging can either be too heavy-handed, where it then pushes people away, or not clear enough where the messaging is muddy. And it all just comes down to how someone wants to tell a story and what their purpose behind telling a story is. And ultimately, I think my purpose in storytelling is to escape reality and just feel good.
Sure.
And if messaging sneaks out, that's fine too. But you as soon as I planted the seed that we tell stories differently, you immediately wanted to respond to like, well, how do I message? What is my like? So do you feel that you have any intent in your storytelling? Given that this is a screenwriting podcast,
absolutely. I have things that come out. I don't know how often they come out deliberately, but I know it has happened. We went, for example, we went back and forth. We didn't talk about. We wrote a script. We've dubbed "Where Santa." During that, there was back and forth on how to portray some of the characters, and even I waffled back and forth with one sort of the. He's not a villain.
Just antagonistic.
Yeah, the jerk. There's a jerk character.
The cowardly jerk.
Yeah. And there were times where I was like, well, let's not make him so cowardly, or he doesn't have to have all the traits of a terrible person. He can have one or two good ones. And then through the drafts that would go back and forth, like, nah, make him the worst.
Make him the worst. It's funnier.
Yeah. Or then like, well, pull this one back. And there are reasons that come out that comes out. I got onto, I actually tangented away from who I initially meant to talk about. I didn't mean for that guy to be the central. It was actually the sidekick character.
Well, Windows.
What?
The sidekick to the cop?
No. The best friend.
Bobby Kyle.
Bobby Kyle. Yeah. Bobby Kyle is sort of the character I related to more because deep-seated personality issues that I should probably be on a couch talking to someone about.
Essentially, for the sake of the listeners who don't have all the context here, it's a Shaun of the Dead type movie where the main character would be Shaun and the Bobby Kyle sidekick character is Nick Frost's buddy. Yeah. So like the plucky sidekick.
Yeah. And so the things that happened to that character and the things that character did, and the way they portrayed themselves, like we would have, we never fought. I don't even know if they even rose to arguments, but we'd have discussions over like minutia because I get caught up in minutia. Like, oh, he should say the line, but he shouldn't say it that way. And I know that's not quite what you're talking about. Like, this is going to be about grief,
right?
I know that's not quite the same thing. I'm writing another script right now, where I'm. I don't know that I'm necessarily purposely doing it, but it's kind of channeling all of sort of this not a regular thing, but I'm tapping into sort of an undercurrent of nihilism that I have.
Certainly, and I'm aware of this script. This is the sport group, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
And because it very much drives the characters, and it indulges in those feelings of nihilism and a weird contentness in hopelessness.
Like, hey, look how free you are by giving up.
A little bit of that.
That's some dark stuff.
It is. There's a thing that's known to happen when people who are suicidal finally decide they're going to do it. People have noted like that next day they're very happy. They're giving away their things, but it's because they've decided, and thus that weight is suddenly lifted, and they know it's going to end. And so this script sort of touches on that kind of feeling. So not necessarily a little bit of freedom in hopelessness, but sort of that as well. The sort of weight being lifted off in giving in to the worst of our drives.
Well, having a movie that presents that's, I know you tend to lean towards the Lovecraftian, gothic type horror. That is a onion worth peeling back to look at the layers of, and that's a very intellectual. It was complimenting your intelligence earlier, your intellect to create something more. Those type of films, while not sci-fi, it's more of a cerebral horror that I am always drawn to as well, like that Mouth of Madness type of, like, what does this say about us, like our insignificance in the grand scheme of the universe. And that's some dark escapism, where it's almost like it's the inescapism. It's like, God, you stare in the void and the void stares back kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And like, what does that ask of you as the person indulging in the story? Like, I think there's some deep exploration of literary analysis within that stuff.
Sure.
But ultimately, I come down to blockbusters. I'm a blockbuster cinema kind of guy. And so when I love a film like, we'll just choose Avengers Endgame, which is what we were talking about earlier tonight, where it's like, oh, it's a fun punch, beat the bad, good versus evil. But, there's enough in there to dissect that is there's deeper layers in there, whether they're intentional or not. There's enough information there to draw from and develop a thesis from.
Yeah.
You had said something recently where I was like, I don't agree with your thesis, but you've given enough information that I can't fight you on it. I think it was after we watched Venom 3. I think you might have said something. Maybe it was that, but it was just a matter of like, I'm choosing to look at the messaging of this movie, and I'm selecting the reinforcements of that. And now I'm going to present it. There's some fun to be had in that, and there's also some danger in that, though, because some people will choose to message movies to their tastes against what seemingly the movie's trying to say.
Right, we could do that with Endgame, starting with Thanos was right, right? Thanos was right, and then you can dissect it from there. You can analyze how all of these heroes, despite being portrayed as doing the right thing,
just all this confirmation bias of looking at Thanos as the hero.
What they're doing is they're not looking at the actual problems that were being addressed. They are putting their feels, their feelings and emotions forefront of all of humanity, because they're just that is an analysis you could do on that. After Hours style.
Yes, cracked videos. Cracked After Hours go. Definitely a series worth watching for its pedanticity.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the 6 movies we have here. I want to go from the bottom up. I want to thank everyone who voted.
Yes, thank you very much.
And we understand. I didn't even mean to say voting, because I think we've had enough voting at this point.
It's always been called voting. I know. Shouldn't have. He should change his name. Michael Bolton's my name. He should change his name.
He's the one who sucks. Yeah. But thank you for everyone who threw their picks out there, who had something to say. Interestingly, we started out slow and it chugged into. So looking at the numbers from last season, we had 628 total votes last season amongst the platforms we threw it out there to. We started a little slow, whatever, but we ended up coming with a grand total of 533 votes from our listeners.
All right.
So thank you for those who participated in the polls, who threw it out there. Not a lot of comments this year, but certainly glad for the people who wanted to vote and then explain why they chose what they chose. So we'll look at some of these. But my favorite comes from Amanda, who said, "If only Hollywood would just let you guys make movies, I'd watch all of these."
Please say more.
And then from Teresa, "I would be very pumped to watch all of these. You guys are great. Thank you."
Thank you very much.
Oh, yeah. And then from Gareth, "I've been waiting for Peter Jackson's remake of Dam Busters for what feels like 50 years. Thanks, Gareth. Thank you for commenting on this.
Yeah.
But so let's see. I'm trying to decide, should I just go to the comments now or wait until we get to the movies that they're specifically speaking of? Oh shit! And then I just navigated away from the page I had pinned. Oh god!
Oh no! Oh, vamp, Jim.
Vamp Jim.
So thank you all again for voting on.
I already said that.
Oh crap!
Yeah. Think of something else to say.
I'm curious to know the ranking of these movies. So Greedo's hair.
Yeah. Oh,
I could just start making up an ad for something.
Thank you to David for our crossover for Zelda, which we that's actually the first comment I want to go to here. This is coming from let's see here. Ty says the correct answer is Back to the Future from episode 100. Wait, it's not there. Well, then it has to be Freeze. That's not there either. Well, then it should be Deadpool 3. Damn it. All right, for real, droids. So it was not easy for us to narrow it down to the 6 this year.
No, yeah.
But we couldn't just put all of them out there because then it'd just be too much to vote on. So
in the past, we have allowed, last year actually, we allowed write-ins.
True.
A write-in almost took it last
That's
year.
right. Somehow Alien Frontier will be the legend of all legends until another one comes along that managed to usurp Star Wars.
Yes.
And I think another one. I think it ended up in like the 3rd or 4th slot.
So if you really if you had really wanted the Back to the Future, you could have wrote that in and started a write-in campaign, and then we would have had to do it.
Well, we do have one write-in specifically for Pepper, which comes from Finn,
that's right.
one of our most loyal listeners, who's actually guested on the show in season 1. Finn, and I told Finn that we love that script. That Pepper as a script should just exist. We should just get off our butts and just write it.
Yeah.
My fear in putting it up for voting is that no one would have voted for it.
Sure.
At least in the grand scheme of the social media places that we put the polls out in, and what people would see, like, Star Wars and a MCU and a Planet of the Apes and what is this?
And a condiment?
A condiment pepper. That's strange.
But are they doing like a sequel to Sausage Party? That's already coming out.
But that said, we love that script. I mean, that came from Jim's mind and was molded into this amazing. Could be an excellent indie film, and we really should
music is inspirational.
Yeah, we should just go ahead and do it. Is what the thing is. So, TBD.
We should go ahead and do all of these. All 120 of them.
Maybe, Jim. But so first up, I wanted to get to our 6th place. Now, what I found interesting about this is we did a final surge of votes today before we went to recording. And coming in, Alien 3 Intercept did not have a lot of love.
No?
It was at the bottom of the list. And just today, it got a good surge. And it does come in at the bottom, though. So Alien...
the polls I was monitoring, it started out strong. A little bit of love.
Yeah,
so.
It started out strong, but ultimately it didn't make it to the top of the list. I think we have some Alien comments here. As I go looking through all of it.
Here we are. This is the sound of us searching.
I know that Sullivan commented specifically on Alien, saying that vote for that because Newt and Hicks always deserved a better ending to their story, and I agree.
Sure,
honestly, a Hicks in betweenquel has sat in the back of my mind in one way or another since the first time I saw Alien 3 in like middle school. Well, not middle, like high school.
I will be honest, I didn't think of doing a movie like that until The Demand.
Well, I had one of the first pieces of fan fiction I ever wrote was I wrote a Hicks story. I could not possibly have been good at it. It was probably like 13 when I wrote it, but it was him versus predators. Because I didn't like aliens, but I loved predators. And it was Hicks fighting predators, and all of his. And he was on a colony where everyone was named after characters from Wizard of Oz. So he's got Scarecrow and Tin Man and Lion.
Cool.
So the idea of Hicks fighting a xenomorph and a replicant is such a cool. Like what I did for one of the social media posts was because it was not inherently a listener's poll where I posted it. It was in order to kind of like, hey, here are the films that could exist. I put script highlights for every demand.
Yeah.
And the script highlight with Hicks in Alien Intercept was Hicks fighting a replicant and tying in the Tyrell Corporation and Blade Runner into the Xenomorph cinematic universe.
Yeah, like very definitively, finally.
Yeah, and saying like, yep, this is a thing. And so what do you got over
there? Horror fan 55 or 555 had said, "Alien, please. I hate 3 so much."
There are defenders of 3, but you got to try real hard to defend that movie. I know you're even.
I am an apologist for it. I'm pulling back on that. I did a rewatch of the Alien movies a couple years ago. Maybe just last year. And like many stories and movies, the memories of it held up much better than the movies themselves.
God, that's one of the most powerful things about nostalgia is how cool a movie was the first time you saw it.
Yeah.
And then going back and looking at it 20 years later going like, oh my God.
Yeah. Two movies from my childhood, like young, like 6 or 7 years old, that I have amazing memories of, even after rewatching them and being like, oh no, I still retain the nostalgia memories, is Ice Pirates and Naked Space.
Ooh, Naked Space.
Yep. It was by the same people who made Naked Gun.
Oh, really?
Yep, it's got Leslie Nielsen.
What? Wow.
Terrible.
I have no knowledge of this. This is amazing.
There's a reason.
Well, Alien Intercept, while we love it, that's why we put it up for contention. So don't hear us wrong that it didn't make it up. Ultimately, it does not have enough votes to get to the top of the list here, but not by much of a margin to everything else but the top slot. They would be cool. The fun to be had in that is the idea of this lone survivor who is awakened to the very real danger, much like Ripley in the subsequent Alien movies, who's basically like, what the hell? Listen to me. I know what I'm talking about. We're all going to die.
Yeah.
And we just gave that to Hicks to redeem him before he's unceremoniously killed in a pod.
Yeah.
Well, moving up the charts here, another one that's got a surge today, Planet of the Apes.
Yeah.
Now, is it worth saying the numbers? So, like, Planet of the Apes only beat out Alien Intercept by a couple votes.
Oh.
So it's just seriously 2 votes above.
Fight for fifth.
Fight for fifth. So Planet of the Apes, so the idea of the circus, we would have done the circus
This one is the circus one? Yeah.
Yeah, not the jailbreak that we'd written for our New York contingent. We like tacked that on, not tacked on, but like threw that out there as a second one, was just the circus that gets in the middle of America. The simian flu is ravaging post war for the Planet Apes, but not by much. And this group of nomadic entertainers being attacked by a village of people who just see that's the enemy, kill the enemy.
Yeah, like literally, it's what is destroying humanity, right? That's how the disease is spreading. Clearly, they've got it.
There it is. Get them.
Yeah.
And then having these 3 chimps and 2 gorillas who are gaining intelligence, who already are already intelligent to begin with because they're entertainers, then protecting their human circus family against these dangerous, fearful people. Planet of the Apes has always had messaging in it.
Yeah.
Like, there's always been a commentary on civil rights in the Planet of the Apes movies in particular. I don't know if the original French book was actually dissecting classism, but probably. I read it in like 8th grade.
I've not read it. Honestly, I think I didn't even know it was based on a book.
If I didn't, I don't know if I said this to you. Maybe if I start saying, you might remember it. In the book, it's a French book. This astronaut and his crew are heading to like Betelgeuse, a different star, and they crash land on a planet of apes. And the other survivors are killed. It comes down to this one guy. He has to absorb into ape culture. He realizes that their language is close enough to French anyway that he learns how to speak and communicate, proves himself an intelligent human. To these apes run the world, just similar enough to Charlton Heston's and what we see from the apes movies. And then in the end, he escapes. He gets a spaceship. He launches back out, goes back through the wormhole that caused this whole problem in the first place, gets back to Earth, crash lands, and is met by apes riding horses. So, strangely, the Tim Burton one, which you haven't seen, which we were going to watch this year, is closer to the book than the movies ever were.
That sounds like Tim Burton.
That the planet, that the Planet of the Apes is a completely different planet, and then upon returning to Earth, discovering that apes have risen up and evolved into usurping humans anyway.
What? But what is that an allegory for?
I don't know. You know what?
When was it published?
When was it published? Planet of the Apes. The book was published in like the 50s, I think.
Was that like did the French have a communist scare?
63 is so we're looking beginning like post World War II, growing Cold War era. The notion of probably a soldier returning home and not knowing and fearing the enemy within.
Sure. Well, right. That's why, as an American, first place to go, communism.
Communism. Yeah. The fear of fighting or existing away from home and experiencing the enemy away from home, and
then
getting
home and
to discover
not being able to ever go home.
Yeah, and that the enemy is ever present in that. Yeah, it certainly could be analogous to. I mean, like whether or not that was his intent, that's going to be unless we can find an article of him specifically saying, "Jacques."
Wow, that was a perfect impression.
Thank you. That is Planet des Singes. Pierre Boulier.
Spot on.
Thank you. But having written our journey through the Planet of the Apes, having Middle America, like the Great Plains of America, having a fear of a traveling circus of entertainers, and having the question of like, I'm defending myself against the enemy. You're the enemy. No, you're the enemy. No, you're the enemy.
Yeah.
Which is a lot what the Andy Serkis trilogy dealt with. Anyway. It does. It's like, we're just trying to live and survive. Stop. We're not attacking you. You attacked us, and now we have to defend ourselves.
Yeah. And the only way you've left us to defend ourselves is to attack your home.
Right. So our movie would have dealt with that as well. It's we crafted something that would have been much more like a much smaller scale story, much more Western, I think, which would have played to your sensibilities really well. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Right, it would have been much more intimate. It would have been as the Planet of the Apes movies are great, and even though it's about compared to the country, smaller enclaves, it's still like there's lots of unnamed people, right? It's like it's a whole survivor community of humans and at least 200 apes. That then it's enough to justify calling it a war, whereas ours would be like
a skirmish.
What, like maybe 20 versus 50?
Yeah.
And so while we're not going to get everyone's names, it's still going to be very, very intimate and gritty.
Yeah. What a Sideways sequel would be, more like a straight to streaming kind of movie as opposed to like a cinematic release, would be smaller scale. And the thing I was most looking forward to had that one is the sign language of the characters, that we would be presenting a script with American Sign Language characters speak. So our actors would have been speaking, creating some sort of technical way. We discussed this on a previous episode as well, of how we would achieve that. I'm trying to see if we have any other comments.
You know what I would want to do? Just thinking about that, knowing that it would the sign language would be subtitled.
Yeah.
I remember a friend really being impressed by the way the Russian movie Night Watch did their subtitles. They built it right into the movie, so they were very stylized, and that's what I would want to do. Different fonts for each character to basically give them their voice.
That's fun. Yeah, ours being an auditory medium, we wouldn't have been able to achieve that for the production of the finale. Right.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm saying, were you to make that a full film?
Okay,
that is what I would want to do.
Giving the language its own font.
Yes, for our audio
purposes.
Table read, that would not have been a thing. The voice would have been the actor reading it.
Right, and I would have filtered it in some capacity. But I'm glad Planet of the Apes did get some love. We had some last minute one of the last votes that came in. Let's see if I can find it right here from Dawn. I roll old school. Planet of the Apes.
Dawn chose Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes.
Oh, okay.
Waka waka. All right, now moving up to the next slot on the list here.
Number 4.
Number 3. We have a tie.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's no
So there's no 4 and 6. It's just tie for 5, tie for 3.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so tie for 3. No, because Alien Intercept was actually 5th. Planet of the Apes would be 4th, and then we have a tie. For number 3 here. Okay. This one, boy, it's tough because I wanted to do all of these, but here we go. So, the Real Ghostbusters, which got lots of love, which I'm so happy that you guys were into it.
I really hope it got the votes because they did read the description and it wasn't just people seeing the word Ghostbusters.
Right.
And thinking they were going to get more Venkman.
Well, so I think it was very clear in the description.
Yeah,
which
your description was
not Slimer, the gorilla, the talking gorilla one. So we got Mike McAllister, friend of the show. Got to go with Real Ghostbusters. Chris, this is clearly the ghost busting we need. From Brandon, any property connected to Larry Storch gets my vote, and the multiverse aspect seals the deal. And Sean, gotta go with Real Ghostbusters too. TOO.
Yeah.
Love that love. I love that love. I'm so happy that we somehow took goddamn Ghostbusters.
People want to see that weird Funimation cartoon made into a movie.
That just cracks me up. In all the best ways possible, that there was love seen for this notion. It did strike me today as I was just preparing for this. It would have been another multiversal jumping around.
Yes, it would have.
Except this Planet of the Apes was much more moving through time and space as opposed to, Mystery Inc. stayed pretty local, but was also multiverse jumping. Mm-hmm. It probably would have been in the same vein as
for doing Scooby-Doo for the Mystery Inc. Did I for research purposes did I make you watch, because I'm pretty sure I referenced at least once My Science no, not My Science. Now I'm getting him confused. I thought it was My Science Project.
Is this you showed me this Scooby-Doo where Velma realizes that she is
that's not what I'm talking about. No, just there was a movie. It came out around the same time as Val Kilmer's Real Science, or at least I saw them sort of around the same time.
Oh yes, this looks familiar.
But My Science Project, it had
Dennis Hopper.
Dennis Hopper.
Yep.
Yeah.
Fisher Stevens. Yep. This looks
I didn't
familiar.
remember Fisher Stevens, but I did that because it was about all of these different time periods. This device made all of these time periods appear basically in this high school that these kids had to resolve.
Whoa, yeah, very much like our Mystery Inc. No, I think maybe this poster looks familiar, so maybe you showed it to me and then decided you wouldn't show it to me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, even the poster looks like it could be for our movie.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a good poster. It's from 1985, so that's what it looks like. The Real Ghostbusters film, I think would have leaned towards what we ended up doing with Threshold of Chaos, Mystery Inc. But I also think we would have taken it weirdly seriously by the end of it, because we were dealing with these characters who have existed since the beginning of time through all time.
Yeah.
And Yeah, some real heavy duty, like this freaking gorilla becomes this savior of existence
Yes.
against the other enemy who is also the gorilla. Like, like I am the alpha and the omega.
Very light year.
Yeah,
Spoiler.
Spoiler. But I'm so thrilled that what an insane pitch. It was such a joke that not a joke per se. Like, not that I didn't take it seriously, but when I saw that it came in as a demand when looking for Ghostbusters demands, I was like, hell yeah, we're doing this. Let's have some.
I think you expected it to be way more comical.
Oh, yeah.
And just like wacky.
No way. We ended up.
And I watched so much of that dang cartoon.
Listen, you watched the whole thing. Looking back at that episode, more than once through the episode, I'm befuddled with sheer enjoyment that we are doing what we were doing. Like going back and scrubbing through it and hearing me going, how is this happening?
Yeah.
How are we doing this? Keep going. Don't stop. So
it would be like turning the Snorks into a compelling drama.
Larry Storch, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, I am. It's sad that it didn't make it to the top, but at the same time, hell yeah.
I'm glad I don't have to practice doing. I can't remember the character's voice. Ah, gee! Oh, no. I don't know if we're gonna be able to get through time.
See, the ape isn't Kong.
No,
that's Tracy. The ape they said was Tracy. Everyone.
Yeah.
Kong was the other guy. Gotcha. Yep. Wild. Thank you for that coming in. That and so now this is tied for third. And okay, Captain Marvel 3.
Okay, no jokes here.
No
Captain
jokes
Marvel
here.
3.
I'm just going right to it. Captain Marvel 3 got the third here, and happy once again that those are the first episode of the season.
Yeah,
and we've run into a little bit of I don't know, it's issue. It's happened before where we have an episode so early in the season, or even a season earlier that we try to get on this list.
Sure.
That just don't get the votes.
Yeah.
Because either the IP's dried up at the time of that people are picking, or our idea wasn't strong enough to stick. But even today, I got a voice text from one of our listeners who was going through all 5 of them. It's a 5-minute voice text, and the Captain Marvel one, he remembered like the whole thing.
Oh yeah,
he's like, oh, it's such a good episode, and that's exciting that it managed to be our first episode of the season and get the attention, get on the list, get up to this point that it would almost surely make it through. So
that's the second time you said 5. We have 6.
Yeah, okay. 6. Oh, sorry.
Okay,
because we have the tie. Yeah. The tie is.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And I'm speaking faster than I can think. Eli, our dear friend Eli, wonderful friend of the show. It's hard to pick from these choices, but out of all of these, I think it'd be fun to see Captain Marvel 3, not only because of the Eternals popping in, but because of the Shi'ar elements of the film as well. I agree. I think in remembering when we picked the Brood and then figured out a way to connect it to the Shi'ar, and then having Nova be the secondary character to Captain Marvel, and then figuring out a way to get Monica and Kamala to be part of the story, which did feel a little bit like the studio demands all 3 of them are in this. Figure it out. Actually,
because the Marvels had just come out, so it kind of felt like, well, how could you do another Captain Marvel movie without mentioning, without alluding to what happened in the previous movie that we just saw.
Yeah, having Monica come back with this 1,000-yard stare of having crossed dimensions.
Yeah,
we didn't know what we would have done with that was make some decisions over the X-Men universe ourselves.
Yes,
but actually, Schulze wanted to throw out his comment real quick. I was leaning towards Real Ghostbusters, but then I saw Nova. I'm so going with Captain Marvel 3. Nova.
I to pat ourselves on the back. I think that our Captain Marvel 3 would have and could have and would have done what you say so many Marvel movies do. They retroactively make
the other stuff,
earlier stuff better, right?
That's like one of the MCU's greatest powers in their long decades plus run now is that a movie that was so suddenly becomes so much better.
Yeah.
Giving Brie Larson and whoever played Richard Rider Nova, the two of them
Mm-hmm.
buddy copping it the way, like, I don't like you, but we got to work together through this story, and possibly finding a romantic angle with these two. Who knows? Like,
Yeah.
just I think it's also one that, much like I joked that Real Ghostbusters would have slowly got more serious.
Sure.
I think this one wouldn't be a yucking good time. It would be some hardcore stuff because they're
Yeah.
dealing with this unstoppable insectoid force that's ravaging an empire
Mm-hmm.
of the galaxy, and then to discover that this force has been manipulated and ignored and controlled by the government in power, using that to fear their way into control over the galaxy.
I mean, the notion of yucking, I actually don't think it would have been very, like, it might have counted as a comedy, but I guess for comedic sensibility, in my mind, it was more akin to 48 Hours.
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, agreed. Looking at something like, even in the MCU itself, Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Mm-hmm.
which had some good, like, moments, but was really a serious subject matter.
Yeah.
And to go to, actually back up for a second with Real Ghostbusters, I don't know what messaging could be dissected from a story where something exists at all time for all times and deals with paranormal. Like, sorry to just jump back a moment here and talk about the deeper meanings within the Real Ghostbusters.
Right. It technically does count as science fiction, but that one's probably the most fantastical
Yeah.
of the bunch.
Yeah. There could be something to look at in terms of humanity, the soul, and the price of what you give up to save other people in your time. Like, what do you do with your power and abilities over time?
I remember as we were doing it, I had themes in mind,
Mm-hmm.
and that kind of messaging. I cannot remember
That's
it right
right.
now. I would have to re-listen to us to
But
remember what it was.
I think I'm touching back into it a little bit of
Mm-hmm.
the notion of, I think we might have done it near or around when we finished Loki season 2, which has a bit of the tree of life.
Yeah.
And Tracy ended up being the spine that holds the galaxy together.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well, and then there was also a lot of it, because it between watching the original live action show and then the cartoon, they do a continuation.
do
And I
not
remember,
recommend.
No, you do not have to watch it. I remember wanting to kind of play with that, and we did. And so the other thing that it talked about was legacy. Legacy was sort of the key word for that movie.
And what does your legacy mean? How do you leave the parts of yourself in time?
Mm-hmm.
Is probably the inner meanings of what's happening here with Captain Marvel, looking at Nova as an organization of law and order.
Yeah.
And Captain Marvel choosing to be this rogue agent of law and order,
Mm-hmm.
and having to find a way to work within a system that has regulations that aren't cohesive to how a law enforcement individual would want to proceed. Whoo! That was a mouthful. You go.
Yeah. No. Essentially, Nova was law. Nova would be law, and Captain Marvel would be order.
Yeah.
She's not, because she does not concern herself with space districts
bureaucracy
and stuff like that. That's actually a big part of the Marvels. The problem, because she went to exact justice on the Kree homeworld, and that caused other problems because she was there for justice, for order, a bit of vengeance.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Nova would be there, cause in our pitch, Nova is sort of initially assigned to kind of babysit is the wrong word. That suggests he's in control.
Right. Monitor. We need to work together, whether you like it or not. Yeah,
that kind of thing.
And then so I think there's what could be extrapolated from that, or like looking at those themes of law and order and how they work in tandem, versus so spoiler for a movie that doesn't exist. The Shi'ar are using the Brood to do what they want to do. They have all these resources and power, and they're just using that to kind of cleave their way into the galaxy to take the things they want. And that is a power and a level of privilege that does not concern itself with law and order.
Sort of, no. It's using law for its own end because technically, they're keeping the shady stuff behind the scenes. So, from the Nova Corps' perspective, the Shi'ar are perfectly good galactic citizens.
Yeah.
It's not until it's revealed that they're controlling this element of chaos that's allowing them to take more control.
They're manipulating the system because they are in a position of power that allows them to manipulate the system.
Yes.
And there's a phrase you want people to use more, and I think this Captain Marvel, this Marvel's 3 would allow us to do so, specifically with Carol's story with Richard or the Nova and Captain Marvel, is eat the rich. That these people have all the power and they are using it. They're manipulating the entire system to just do whatever the hell they want.
Yeah, to roll over communities, to use the Brood as an excuse to roll over galactic communities that they just want what they have.
And they know they're doing it. They're doing the wrong thing because they're hiding it.
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm just using the system that's put in place for me to use. I didn't do anything wrong. Then why'd you hide it?
Then why'd you hide it?
If you really didn't think you were doing something wrong, why are you manipulating the system with
my
malice?
only problem with that is the angle of Minority Report. You only run if you're guilty.
Right.
No, you run if you're scared.
Yeah. True.
If you don't, or the common phrase, if you don't have anything to hide, why are you worried about it? No, because privacy is important.
Yeah. You're gonna.
But that's not what you're talking about. We're talking about institutional level behavior.
And then our B plots, we had. I can't remember Monica too well, but I remember Kamala Khan being involved with discovering that some of the Eternals were captured by the Brood. That the Brood is literally like siphoning their. I think did we make it adamantium?
The Brood had Eternals?
They had a celestial egg that they were siphoning, and that they had kidnapped and were holding.
Not the
Eternals.
Shi'ar?
Oh, sorry. The Shi'ar. Yeah. Yes, the Shi'ar. The Shi'ar were using a celestial egg, and they had captured some of the Eternals. And Kamala Khan is her plot in finding them and getting them involved in the story. I don't remember exactly the full details of how we fleshed that out, but it was subtextually this use of I'm going to reach here, like gods, like using the ancient good.
to further your own agenda.
Yeah. And then Monica coming from another reality, returning to another reality, kind of goes to our Planet of the Apes discussion earlier about you were over here and then you came back, but you can't see you can't go home again because you've experienced things on a grander scale that you cannot perceive this reality the same way anymore.
Is that what we did with it? I can't remember. Because we're the Shi'ar from the other realities?
The Shi'ar are from Marvel MCU 616.
Okay.
Yeah. That they are like what seems like it's just an insectoid Starship Troopers, Xenomorph fight builds and
oh no! Oh, I really want to see a Super Troopers, Starship Troopers, not crossover, but like a mashup. I want to see that mashup.
We can't blow up any more bugs. We've already blown up all the bugs.
Oh crap! No, I can't remember any quotes from it. Who wants a brain bug ride?
Trooper with an attitude. Do.
Do you boys want to live forever?
Yeah! Oh my god. Yes.
If I hear another one of you say Clandathu, I swear to God, I'm going to pistol whip them.
Hey, what's that? Hey, Farva, what's that planet we used to go to?
With all the bugs?
With all the bugs?
Oh, you mean Clandathu?
Oh! do. Super Troopers. Super Starship Troopers.
Yeah. Super Troopers?
Oh my, yeah. Starship.
Super Starship Troopers. No, Super Starship Troopers.
Starship Troopers, yeah. Starship Super Troopers.
Super Starship Troopers.
Troopers.
Troop.
Trooper to troop. Man horseless man. Headless Horseman. Okay.
This episode has gone off the rails.
So this is the perfect time for us to take a break. We're gonna pop up. We're gonna stop here for a second to get some messages from 6.5 Media, and we will come back with the top 2 and a discussion about whether or not we should write them both. We'll be right back after this. Sorry about the psychic probing.
It's a lollipop. Yes, it helps with the psychic resonance. It's delicious.
Starship Super Troopers. Amazing. Okay, well, we have our two final picks here. Now, I'm gonna. Once I say one, you'll know what the other one is. So I should just say what one, right?
Well, no. You say the runner-up.
If
first.
I say the runner-up, then okay. So the runner-up here.
But you're saying it's there's a tie?
No. I'm just saying as soon as I say what the runner-up is, you know what the winner is.
Isn't that how contests go though? You still say the runner-up first?
I guess.
Isn't that's really anticlimactic and rude to the runner-up? Then
that's true.
5, 4, 3, 1, 2,
and also that second one came in. Fair. Okay, so coming in at the number 2 slots. Number 2 slot, and actually I think the best comment to go here is from Gene, one of our listeners, your friend Gene. Initially I was thinking droids, but I really dig the pitch for the Blade concept. The idea that vampires would be affected by the snap because they're technically not alive is clever itself in a fun comic book way. Okay, so he initially thought droids, but he ultimately went on to Blade, and also that sure is the word of the day for me, and I need to stop saying ultimately. It just struck me. I've said it at least 4 times there. So coming in at second place is Droids, a Star Wars story, which only beat out third place by 3 votes.
Wow.
Now, Jim, you didn't vote, but it won't tip the scales in any way or another. You might break the tie because you didn't vote.
Yeah,
I did. I voted for Star Wars. But honestly, we voted for all 6. We wanted to do all 6 of these, so really my vote doesn't count anyway. Droids, a Star Wars story, coming in at second place. Let me just grab some of these comments here. We'll go back to your comment, Gene. Don't worry. You wrote more and you had more to say, but I wanted to get here. From Melina, gotta go with Droids, as I still love Star Wars more than anything it could ever do wrong, but your concept for Blade sounds fantastic and incredibly, albeit unfortunately, relevant today as well. So another person who was like, I like both. And let me just hop over to last section of comments here. Ty earlier said, Back to the Future, no. Freeze, no. Deadpool 3, no. Okay, Droids. But, yes, so Droids, we want to do a Star Wars. We're
finally doing a Star Wars!
We want to do a Star Wars so badly, Jim. This one, boy, okay, so there's some subtext in this one.
A whole bunch.
Yeah, like a system of government put in place that replaces a previous system of government, and saying we must erase or eradicate or
recycle, or not
assimilate.
Even
you into our new way of doing the government as opposed to the old way of government, and having a group of characters who go, I don't want to do that.
Sure.
We are going on the run, and one of them specifically having
even more so. It's not even just I don't want to do your thing.
Yeah.
This is about the droids who don't have a choice, and the way they're going to get assimilated is to either be scrapped or reprogrammed.
Right. And one of them specifically, our hero, or one of our hero droids, has the MacGuffin, a literal walking MacGuffin. And this is the one who has the map to a Jedi cloning facility. Yeah. Which is I just love the story we came up with.
Yeah.
Like, talk about a space opera.
And it touches on so many parts of Star Wars in not heavy-handed ways. Like I bringing up cloning, when cloning first came, the Clone Wars back in the day, when it was just this legend, was amazing.
The idea of it.
And then Lucas made 1, 2, and 3, and cloning was lame. It was lame. And then Dave Filoni made cloning kind of cool with the Clone Wars.
Yeah. Gave all these characters agency to the point where they were doing this against their will. That none of these clones willingly chose Crosshair, yes, but talk about a redeemed villain. That they were just programmed to turn on the people that they've been fighting alongside. Thank you, Dave Filoni, and all your people for fixing that.
And then they went and kind of made it lame again with Palpatine being like, and then I got the clones.
Now Filoni and his team are doing everything they can to retroactively fix that.
But and we get to play our little fan part in this. I like how we bring up cloning in the role it plays. It's less about the actual clones and more the cloning tech as what you said, a MacGuffin. Mm-hmm. It's a stand-in for essentially a weapon of mass destruction.
Yeah, and that our focal point characters are the least people. They are the lowest of low when it comes to rights within the galaxy.
Yep. They are considered non-people.
That they are looked as disposable, even more so than the clones ever were.
Yeah.
That the droid army, that these astromech droids, they are hunks of junk to people that can be, and we as audience have given them sentience, or given them souls, and the characters who treat them the way they do in the movies, like Luke and how he treats R2 and C-3PO's family, like having droids be bestowed. The challenge of that demand was, how do we tell a story where you actually give a shit to the point of loving these characters as fully as if they were flesh and bone?
Sure.
And we came up with something so much that's so fun here. And we got so close to getting another Star Wars, and every season we're like, Star Wars? Hey, does anyone want one of them Star Wars? No? Our bad, okay. Even in the highlights, when I pitched this to people, I was like, highlights, and I had lists coming, and also an underground lightsaber fight, huh? Remember that from our Boba Fett 2 pitch? Yeah, we'll give you everything. But yeah, and last season, Alien Frontier buried Star Wars 10.
It did.
And I think it was just people were just so tired of Star Wars. Mm-hmm. But Star Wars will never die. Star Wars will always have its fandom, and
they pay too much for it.
Let's see if there's any other comments for Star Wars specifically, because if not, I'm going to go into our winner of the season, Jim. Blade, Heart of Darkness. Oh, sorry. Okay. On what?
For droids,
you had a comment?
The plucky plumber on Discord had said, I think I'm going to go with droids. He wanted to stay away. We've done a whole bunch of superhero stuff. Mm-hmm. So we wanted to stay away from the Marvels and Blade.
Fair point.
Yeah.
And that was one of our concerns as well, that we just keep volleying back and forth. But hey, we know our audience.
That is true.
I want to go back to Gene's comment here.
Okay.
That he really loved that vampires are not technically alive. It's a clever and fun comic book way, but it also has a lot of thematic commentary power in relation to the idea of the snap itself. I remember when those movies came out, how many people argued that it was actually the correct call. But vamps getting an exception could be used in the script as a strong metaphor to explore the fact that such an act wouldn't do much of anything to address the root cause that lead to the kind of suffering Thanos was claiming to care about when he started the Infinity Gem Crusade. And, in fact, it would likely just enable those toxic elements of human experience. There's a lot of genuine potential here, both in deepening the MCU lore and just a meaningful story that would have a very timely importance, given many current world situations and ongoing crises. Plus, we would get some genuinely great action sequences to boot. Hey, what can I say? I'm a huge fan of Akira, and I love my deep, metatextual, philosophical exploration served with a generous side of explosive motorcycle violence and bizarre body horror. See you at the rave. I hear there'll be a bloody good time. Yeah. I don't think we set out to pick something so thematically deep.
No.
That could be explored with such meaning and having messaging in it. Then we just stumbled into this.
Kind of,
but
yeah.
Blade is a story of an individual's crusade to take down the man. And right when he thought he had accomplished it, he was snapped away.
Yep.
And he returns about 5 years later to discover that not only that all that work he did to end that fight, not it backtracked so badly that now his fight's going to be even harder than it was in the first place.
Yep.
Wow. Oops. Way to go, Jim. What'd you do?
Whoopsie.
What did you do? What did you do? You no. You look at what you did. Now tell me what you did.
Aw. I made the fiction the reality.
Oh, damn it. So there it is, Blade, Heart of Darkness, and I to the point of what was it, the Plucky
Plumber.
Plucky Plumber. Yes, yes, another comic book movie has won the day, but this isn't capes exactly. This is
That's true.
This is vampires. This is action.
Dracula wore a cape.
That's true. And we'll go back into the episode proper, like what we pitched in the episode, and build off that like we do every season. But what do you think, Blade? What's your heart tell you?
I'll be honest. I missed the way you did that. I thought we were going to be doing droids. I thought we were going to tell the story of some happy little droids going through a tough time. But we'll tell the story of some happy little vampires going through a tough time.
Well, I wanted to talk to you about that.
Uh-oh.
Why not do both? Why not do both?
Because we only have so much time.
I know. We only have so much time, but every season, and as the season goes along, we constantly have discussions on how to build this show out, build this series out. We've done over 100 demands now. Well over 100 because we've had the episodes that have multiple things in them. Our shotgun episodes of stories based on songs or video games or what have you, team up movies, and always wanting to challenge ourselves to not, this isn't something that we take flippantly. We take the show. We have a lot of fun with this show, and we take it as a very real challenge, and it's so enjoyable. But I also want to always find ways to challenge ourselves even more so, and I don't know. I don't know what season 6 is gonna be. We could just continue as is and do another 24 episodes, or maybe we split in half and we do 12 and a feature, and then 12 and a feature. I don't know. I know this is where I'm throwing this at you without much more than the pre-break that said maybe we write more than one. But I'm throwing it out there as a discussion point with you, Jim. What do you think about taking the time to Blade is the feature. That's the one that we are going to produce for the finale. But would you be interested in possibly even just considering it, doing droids as well, and offering our
short
listeners?
Answer? Yes.
Yeah. It does come with its complications because you're right. We only have so much time to do this.
Yeah.
So we will first and foremost produce Blade. And then it's like, well, we're going to give ourselves a little bit of a break to do so. This episode the finale's not going to be up in 2 weeks because we're going to give ourselves at least twice as that much time to really write it, refine it, record it, produce it, and release it. It'll be a Christmas gift to you guys. But I don't know. This show is so much fun, but the fun that's been growing out of this is these finales, these table reads of putting our muscles to true work to craft a full feature film and then put it into the hands of actors who then bring it to life. I mean, it's so much fun.
It is.
You're right.
I don't want to go and promise that we're going to do this because then it's just going to grow and and that would be awesome. My concern is about the resources allocated to do these.
Here's what. Go ahead.
But to answer your question here on mic, yeah, let's do both.
Let's do both. All right, you heard it here, folks. Jim committed.
One on the schedule, the other
TBD.
Yeah.
The reason I want to do that is we've discussed in the past. I think we've done this in our bonus territory as opposed to episode proper. But the idea of doing scenes from all of our movies, to finding ways to script out some of those scene highlights and just give a taste of what a feature could be. And what I'd like to attempt for season 6 is that after we've pitched something, we do an episode and we get a demand, and when we walk away and digest it for a couple days and discuss it between the two of us, or if our listeners give us any feedback, to say like, oh, you know what, let's do 5 pages. Let's do these 5 pages. And then when it comes time for the finale, we now have trailers essentially for stuff. Sure. And you're right. Time consumption is the issue here. It's hard for us to do as much as we do on this show. I am proud to say, Jim, every single episode this season came out on schedule. We did not miss a single deadline this entire season, and I'm so proud of us for pulling that off.
And that's because of you. So very good job.
Well, hey, you're in these episodes too.
I know, but this one is yours. Say thank you.
Say more. Thank you. You're welcome. What am I saying? I don't know. But we didn't get commentaries for every episode. We didn't get the TikToks are hard for me to take. It's time.
Sure.
It's a lot of time.
Right. And so then it's going to start becoming, okay, do we do the commentary / TikTok highlight, or do we do one of these 5-page reels?
Yeah.
That's a fun idea. I like it very much. Again, it's the resources.
Yeah. So we don't have any answers here. That's just something I wanted to put out there. Surprise Jim with this line of conversation. But back to the finale here. Let's get back. Let's back it up here and talk about Blade some more.
Blade.
The trick here, which we've discussed in some of our finale choices, is how much action is involved.
Sure.
That a movie that is heavily action, like Speed 10, how much dialogue is going to be in Speed 10, right? That's why we didn't even put it up for consideration last year.
I don't think that's the reason why we didn't.
Oh, no, that's the only reason.
How can you do 1 and not the other 9?
All right.
I'm sorry, 8?
8, yeah. We will. All right, so Jim is now promising that he's going to write.
Oh, no!
It was you.
It was me the whole time.
But yeah, finding a way to pull off the action. But we had a comment on Threshold of Chaos that credited you as the narrator, reading out the stage direction of. I could look. I'll look for it. I could, but I'm just going to paraphrase it, which was major points to Jim for pulling off the engaging action sequences.
Oh well, thank you very much.
Because there were points, especially in that final pages, which is just all action with the occasional "Look out!" Jim. Oh no! Jim. And I don't know how many people watched it with the script next to it,
sure,
which is the YouTube version, as opposed to just listening to the audio of it. But the comment came from someone who had just listened to it on Spotify.
Oh,
and they were like, "What? Kudos to Jim." And then a follow-up question was like, "What did those pages look like?" I'm like, "Well, here, you can look at the script. It's right over here."
Yeah. I think a lot also goes to your sound design. You do go in and put in sound effects as well.
I love it.
Yeah.
It's so much fun. I've never saw myself.
Granted, you actually sometimes do the sound effects there
live
at the table.
And I regret it every time.
Yes.
I regret it every time because I'm trying to amp up the readers.
Yeah.
But then I'm realizing this sucks. So I'm editing it and I'm hearing me going, shut up. Mute this guy's microphone. My God. Which was great and Threshold of Chaos because I did it for Spider-Man too. We had individual tracks for everyone at the table, so I was able to easily mute myself.
Your enthusiasm is welcome at the table.
Yeah, I thank you. Good. But I'm. It's going to be fun to play in the MCU proper, which we haven't done yet.
That's true.
Our Amazing Spider-Man was adjacent.
Sonyverse.
Sonyverse, right?
That was the Sony's
Spunk,
yeah.
Sony movie universe pictures of Spider-Man characters. I don't know.
No, Spider-Man. Sony productions of Marvel characters. Sony presents Marvel character. No, I can't remember what it was.
It's oh god, it's so stupid.
Spunk.
Sony. I mean, they have renamed it the Sony Spider-Man universe.
It's changed once again.
Yeah, it was like the Sony Pictures Spider-Man movie universe or something.
Yeah.
Spunk.
Yeah.
Which the Australians I listen to, Weekly Planet, also started calling it Spunk or something like that as well.
Nice.
So we're gonna take we'll go back into the episode for Blade. We'll go through it and start our. We have the rough draft of the treatment just from the episode alone. We'll go in and we'll start going through our process. Previously, through Justice League, Spider-Man, and Threshold Chaos, we did do sessions where I just ran audio, but those are not really. I don't know how enjoyable those would be to listen to because it's us sitting around for literally hours acting out scenes and pacing and sitting in silence and rubbing our temples and like hashing out the script live.
I mean, for whoever's listening, they might not enjoy this, but there's no reason that couldn't just be a Patreon.
Yeah, maybe. Thing. I'm curious if anyone's interested in our process. Certainly comment and ask, and we're happy to discuss it in greater detail.
Sure.
But it's we have things we do every time, and then things that just spawn out of what we're doing. Yeah. But, okay, there it is. So, Blade, Heart of Darkness, going into the MCU, the post-snap, and there's
it's starting to settle in. I'm really surprised. I think I'm really surprised.
That Blade one?
Yeah.
You thank Wesley Snipes and Deadpool 3 for this happening.
I think so. Jason, did you see the news that apparently Gambit is trending? Like, executives are starting to think real hard.
Listen,
that maybe they need to make a Gambit movie.
Listen, executives, the script is ready. We've already written it.
We have.
We'll introduce the X-Men into your universe. You just let us know. It's right there waiting. But you're surprised? You're surprised that Blade took the lead?
I am.
I am as well. But it came out strong. So like when the voting started, Planet of the Apes and Blade got the first round of people chiming in, and then Blade just started climbing up. Once Star Wars started, Captain Marvel, Blade, and Droids were really hanging on to each other, and then Real Ghostbusters started climbing up there as well. Because the difference so Droids, Captain Marvel, and Real Ghostbusters are within 3 votes of each other.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Blade ran away with it, 167 total for Blade. And it might have just been right time, right place situation here, where off the heat of Deadpool 3, people are like, yeah,
sure.
And also,
because we're not off of Deadpool 3, they said there will only ever be one Blade. We're
going to show
you. Here comes another.
So we'll see if we they've thrown another script out, so there's always a chance we get a chance. I wanted Droid so bad to win, Jim, but I wasn't going to manipulate the system to get it.
Yeah.
It was so close. It was like Blade, Star Wars, and Captain Marvel were neck and neck for like a week.
That's amazing.
And I was like, hey, if we get a 3-way tie again, I'll do all 3, goddammit. I hope you didn't mind me throwing that at you. I'm throwing things at you.
That's okay.
You're going to be
live.
You're going to be angered on the toilet again.
Yeah. All right, did you turn the mics off? Yeah. Why are you doing this?
Jim abuses me verbally. Captain Marvel was climbing up there. Droids was climbing up. Like the 3 of them. I was really surprised how Ghostbusters hung in there.
Yeah.
I was like,
I
want to be clear. This is not the Peter Venkman Slimer Ghostbusters. This is, I know.
We kind of put that on there because it was almost more of like it's like the goblin that a D&D party adopts, kind of. That's why that was on the list.
You know, if we had been putting it to votes in previous seasons, the Mother Goose Cinematic Universe would definitely be one of those, like, you guys want this, right? Yeah. Come on. Who wants their Iron Man to be Rip Van Winkle? Come on.
Who wants to know what crooked tech is?
But I was really sad. Planet of the Apes was, like, getting shut out. Like, it was getting nothing.
Yeah.
Our Alien Intercept and Planet of the Apes were just, like, hanging at the bottom. And that could be so Ryan messaged me, and he was like, I've only seen Alien Romulus. So while I liked Alien Romulus, I don't know the series enough to vote for this one. That's fine. And he, similarly with Planet of the Apes, he'd only seen the most recent one. He'd not seen any of the others.
So I understand that to some degree, right? That's you don't want to vote for the thing that's from a franchise you haven't seen enough of. But at the same time, that is also what the synopses were there for. Right? Like, I've seen all the Marvel movies, but Captain Marvel just doesn't move me. I don't know who the Shi'ar are. I don't care. Okay, then vote for the Alien. I've only seen Romulus. Did you like it, though?
Yeah.
Do you like this idea?
Yeah.
Dealing with corporations in space.
Tyrell. Yeah.
But that is okay.
Yeah, I think Blade somehow just has a very strong subtext to it, dealing with. We'll see how much we thrust that into the story.
When I came up with that undertitle, the Heart of Darkness, a lot of it
coalesced,
focused in for me. Like, oh yeah, you can do a lot. There's a lot of modern commentary to do, but you can also use my elbow. I sat on my elbow, leaned on my elbow the wrong way.
Jim does yoga when we're recording.
I sit on elbows. There's a lot of awesome parallels to pull with the book Heart of Darkness and Apocalypse Now.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yeah. But thank you, everyone, for such a great season. This was a lot of fun. This was not easy to narrow down to 6. I think I said that earlier, but yeah. Any highlights for the season for you, Jim? Anything that you want to talk about?
Highlights? Nope. I wasn't ready for that question. What did we do this season?
A few funny shows. It's fine. But I think we can wrap it up here. We'd like to know if how's everyone feel? What was some of your favorite highlights of the season? The demands we met. Honestly, actually, before I do fall into that, talking about like the deeper meaning of like the metatextual, the subtext, the literary analysis available
of
to
the
us.
Podcast?
Not of the podcast. This is clearly a cry for attention, and it's also a distraction from the deeper things that these guys are not dealing with. It's escapism through and through. Yeah. I'm projecting on all of you. But thank you for this great season. Hit us up if you agree, disagree. Hopefully there's no one disappointed. I know it's disappointing that some of these were so close to...
If you are, come let us know.
Yeah, seriously.
We want to talk about it.
Yeah. And where people can do that somewhere, they can go to Reddit and Discord.
Yeah, you can go to Reddit and Discord and do that. You can get to the Discord by going to our website. There should be a link at the top for the Discord to get an invite to the Discord. And you can go to r/studio demands it and just drop into any of those, or start your own post where you want to talk about stuff. And we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
There you go.
You can also reach us directly at studiodemandsit.com, or if you go over to Instagram, you can find us at Studio Demands It. And all the episodes are up there. If you want to chime in on a specific one, you can also look at the artwork there. A couple of the posts have the alternate artwork up, including our Fables episode. But whatever the case, you can reach us over there, and you can also subscribe if you've made it through this whole season and haven't done so. You're crazy. You're crazy.
You're crazy.
But also throw a little review out there if you want, because it doesn't hurt to do it in app, and also helps us get out there into the algorithm. As mentioned, we have YouTube and TikTok where we post video content, including material not heard on the show. We did it, Jim.
We did.
It's time to sit down and start writing this finale.
So. You asked what my thoughts were, and I saved them till here when we're supposed to be fading out.
Yeah.
I quickly looked over the season, and I'm remembering back to the conversations we had. The two big thoughts I had is one of the hard things was, despite some people flattering me by saying how well I can read an action scene, we didn't entertain a couple of like Godzilla. Godzilla didn't make it in specifically because it would be so action oriented, and describing.
It would just be
giant
an audiobook.
Monsters. Yeah, basically. That some just didn't make it in because of that. And I think Freeze ultimately didn't make it in because it's meant to take place in the Todd Phillips Joker verse. And that second one was so, to us, it was not great.
Yeah, and it sort of soured.
It's pulled all of the enthusiasm. Like, I still really like what we did with Freeze, but it sucked a lot of the enthusiasm out. Even though also a bunch of what we do with Freeze is not that different from what we do in The Batman and Robin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which was a different Mr. Freeze. But,
it was.
Similar enough for us, Vengeance. And I still will tip my hat to you. Go and count Monte Cristo on that thing. Oh, my God.
Thank you.
Ty had written in the comments that he liked Freeze as well as something he would have voted for if it had been on the list. Shane, vote for Blade. It was a strong demand, and Blade needs a good story, and y'all can do it. Thank you, Shane. So yeah,
and again, write-ins every year, all the time, are welcome.
All the time.
I would. It would be amazing if somebody wrote in that they wanted us to do a script for the Universal Dark Universe.
Oh my God, going back to season 1.
Give us a season 1
my God.
request.
Going all the way back. That's the third episode.
It's the third episode.
To just be like, and I was like slow pitching was it Monster Hunters? No, Monster Squad.
Monster Squad,
and once
yeah.
you cottoned on to what I was doing, you're like, no. These are supposed to be horror characters. Like, yeah, but the kids. Shut up.
Or someone out there wants someone to really want Cannonball Run.
Oh my God. All the way back to season 1 there.
I just think it'd be hilarious to get write-ins from
Cannonball.
anywhere through the catalog.
I just discovered your guys'
just
show.
have to be.
Yeah. I like that Cannonball Run you guys are pitching.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Apatow gang. I think in our pit we had like
it was a lot of them.
Yeah.
So there you go. Those are my thoughts.
So Blade coming soon, and also we will continue to have this discussion about droids and whether or not we decide to do that as well.
Okay. Yes, we will.
Thank you everyone for another amazing season. We will be back again with a whole nother season to take on some of your demands, to challenge ourselves, and to maybe improve the world of cinema. I am TC.
I am Jim.
And this is the Studio Demands It
podcast
show
you
that you've
listened
fading out to the music.